Welcome to From Home to Hustle. I'm Kelly Campbell, and I'm passionate about sharing stories of incredible stay-at-home moms who are building businesses and creating income from home. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode From Home to Hustle. I'm your host, Kelly Campbell. If you've been around the channel long enough, you know that I am super passionate about hearing other stay-at-home homeschool moms who are home and taking care of their family, as well as running businesses or writing books or running ministries and all the things, and learning how they're balancing them. Today's guest, Jenna, is no different. Jenna is a stay-at-home homeschool mom to 4 kids, as well as a parenting coach and an author. Jenna, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I'm thrilled to be here today.
Me too. I am so glad. I cannot wait to hear your story. So, with that being said, will you just kind of catch us up, like who you are, your kids, your ages, and then just let's dive into your story.
Sure, I am a homeschooling mom. Just like you said, I have 4 kids. They are between the ages of 8 and 3 currently. So when I started having kids, I had 4 kids in a span of 5 years. So it was a really compact experience.
I had
And
4 and 4 years.
oh my gosh,
So
look at
I know.
you. I
I
don't know
know
that I've
exactly.
I don't know that I've met many people that have had that experience. So kindred
Yes,
souls, absolutely. And I feel like
absolutely.
it's definitely a unique experience for parenting because everything comes at you very quickly
Yes.
and it's very compacted. It's all together, right? And I
Wait till
mean,
they're teenagers.
oh my gosh, I'm actually really excited for teenagers. I think teenagers are going to be awesome. It's going
Oh,
to be
they
really
are.
cool, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I went into parenting feeling very prepared because I'm the oldest child in my family. I read all the books, I did all the things I was supposed to do. I attended all the classes. And we had our first child, and it was kind of like, that record rip where you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I was so surprised by the amount of decisions that you need to make and the amount of things that you accumulate when you become a parent. And
Hmm.
those were things that I didn't feel like any of the books prepared me for. And I was the first one on either side of my family or my husband's family to have kids in any of my friend groups. I literally knew no one else that was a mom except for one person. And so it was all of my advice was coming from previous generations, and
Hmm.
they all have wonderful advice, but sometimes it's really helpful to have somebody that's also in the thick of things with you.
Hmm.
And so as I continue to have kids, I started just really asking some deep questions like, why is it so hard to manage all the stuff and the people? Why
Mm.
is it that I have to feel like there are so many decisions that need to be made on a regular basis? Like there has to be an easier way.
Mm.
And so, as we were asking these questions and starting to kind of dissect some of these things, we
Yeah.
discovered essentialism, which I don't know if you've heard of essentialism or not.
No,
So,
no.
bottom line is you're pursuing quality over quantity
Oh,
is
yes.
a great way to
I
to
guess I've never
summarize.
heard it in that terms, but yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, and similar to minimalism. And what we did was we started decluttering as we were having kids, right? Like we're having more babies, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, you must have so much stuff." I'm like, "Well, actually, do you want a box of baby clothes? Because we don't need this box." And it
Hmm.
was very countercultural for where I live, for the people that I am around, just for the time as well.
Yeah.
And we're going through this. And I started an Instagram account, just talking about being mindful as a mom and,
Mm.
how many times have you reheated your coffee today? Oh, just like little fun things to relate. And as I continued along this path, I learned that decluttering only takes you so far unless you also have a value system to go along with it.
Hmm.
And so my work kind of bloomed from there when I realized that when you can attach values to your household things, it changes the narrative completely. And I started writing about it on a blog. I started a blog, and then that morphed into a freelance writing career, just local freelance writing for articles, local publications, online, that kind of thing. And then I continued wanting to help people, and God put it on my heart to write a book. So
Hmm.
I wrote a book literally, I talk about it in the introduction, in the cracks of motherhood. I mean, truly, like in my closet or,
Mhm.
on a Saturday afternoon or whenever I could. And then that also has evolved into parent coaching where I can continue the conversation off of the pages and relate to people one-on-one because, well, a book is an amazing, amazing tool. Sometimes it's just really helpful to sit down with someone and talk about it too.
Oh, I
So,
love that.
yeah.
So, okay, so take me back a little bit. So you're decluttering, you're like more of like a minimalistic lifestyle where it's like, okay, only the bare essentials or whatever. You start writing about it, like blogging. Did you find like friends like coming to you and just like feeling overwhelmed in their own lives? Did you have a lot of people coming to you and like, okay, how am I doing this? Like, how are you doing this? How should I be doing this?
Yeah, it's kind of remarkable because living by example is such a powerful tool. And I feel like in this
Mhm.
situation, this is exactly what happened where I would get rid of something and somebody would be like, oh my gosh, aren't you going to need that? I'm like, I don't know, maybe, but probably not. And then, a year later, they'd be like, remember when you got rid of that thing? Well, I got rid of it too. And you were right. And, it has transferred to other things too, like family members, whether it's cleaning out a closet in my childhood home,
Mhm.
or, a family member is
Yeah.
moving, or it's just kind of morphed into all of the avenues of life. And I think it's really fun when people will be like, hey, I remember when we had this conversation, and I'll be like, I do not remember that conversation. They'll be like, well, it was really impactful and it inspired me to declutter my pantry. And now my pantry looks like this. And I'm like, that's amazing.
That's
I'm so
awesome.
glad. Yeah. So
So
those kinds of things.
that it seems to be that is that people just start doing what interests them, where they're at in life, and then all of a sudden they find like friends like coming to them and asking questions, and then they start sharing it. Oh yeah, I did this and this and this today, and then they start sharing it, and then other people are like interested, and then all of a sudden like these moms are having these light bulb moments where they're just like, wait a minute, there's like something here. There's a lot of people. It comes natural to talk about it. It comes natural for people to come and talk to me about it, to have conversations about it. Just something that's a part of their life.
It's been a fascinating journey because at first I was definitely on the outside.
Hmm.
I was on the outside. And I mean, we live in a consumer culture. And so when you have somebody who's like, yeah, but do you really need that? And asking those questions, it can be a little eyebrow raising.
Hmm.
And the more that I do it, the longer that I do it, the more comfortable that I get with understanding that in order to be able to encourage others to change, I have to be the brave one to go first. And
Hmm.
that's sometimes a very uncomfortable place to be in.
Yes. Yes,
But
it is.
it
Because
also is fruitful.
yes, and because you're forming new paths, and with that comes, oh, that seems easy. Like, okay, I'm going to do it, but with it comes like mindset changes,
Mhm.
first yourself and then others. That's where the hard part is. It's
Mhm.
changing habits, but also changing your mindset that you've built around those habits.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, okay, so what came first? Was it your parent coaching or was it your book?
My book.
Okay, so your book
Yep.
came first. Um, okay, girl, I know. Like I said, I had 4 kids in 4 years. Okay. And I also wrote a book. So I want to know, like, you having small kids still, how did you find the time to write? What was your like pockets of productivity? That's what we're gonna call it. Pockets of productivity.
I love that.
Me too.
So I you could totally turn that into like another book, honestly. All right. So I would say that everybody lives a different life.
Mhm.
For me, writing is an outlet. It's something that I really enjoy. So it wasn't work. It was
Mhm.
just so much fun. I looked forward to it. I craved that time.
Mhm.
And I also have a really wonderful support system. My husband is absolutely phenomenal. And so we just picked some days and I'd be like, hey, on Thursday nights, can you handle bedtime? And I'm going to write for an hour.
That's good.
Or on this Saturday, we don't have anything going on. I would love to go to the library for 3 hours and write. And so we just created these little pockets of productivity that I reserved for myself based off of when my spouse was able to do it. And then also I think what's hard is that as a homeschooling mom,
Yeah.
you don't have as much time like other moms might have if they're sending their child into a school.
Right.
And so one of the things that we did when we started homeschooling was we built in one morning a week where we have somebody who comes and hangs out with our kids. She does school with our kids. So she's a second set of eyes on everything. She will do science projects that I don't want to do or art that I don't want to mess with. And that was also a guaranteed time that I could have to write or to work or to do an interview or to go for a walk. And I think that there's so much value in being able to build out even just small
Yeah.
amounts of time, because as a homeschooling mom, you don't really have a lot of time off. I think that when I explain to people that I homeschool, they're probably like, oh my gosh, I didn't go to college for education. I could never teach my kids. And I'm like, really? The hard part is that you're just kind of on all the time.
That's
But
what it is.
right. But the other side of it to me isn't the hard part. The hard part is just finding time to be alone at times. And then the other thing that we do is if my kids are going to watch something on the TV, we don't do a ton of screen time, but when we do have screen time, I use that as my time to work. You know, so I build that kind of in as well. Well, if you're going to do screen time, I'll do screen time as well. So those are some of my pockets.
Yeah, there's a season of grace that's on it. I like I've always wanted to write a book. Like I've always desired to write a book, and I tried for many years to get started, and then, having kids and being in certain seasons, it just wasn't the right season. But when I felt like when God finally like gave the green light of grace on it, it came swiftly, and it came quickly, and it came easily in some areas. And God has placed a book on your heart. Sometimes it's seasons. Sometimes it might not be the season, but in the season that you're not yet writing, be making notes, be diligent about like writing down some thoughts, or have a place that you're keeping all that so you can go back and grab that when you actually sit down and write. Because that's what I did before I actually sat down and write my book. It was just a couple of years of just like a revelation that I had that I wanted to put in the book. And then I would just like make a note of it. And all that was kept in one spot. And so whenever I was able to sit down and write, I was able to kind of grab that notebook and just pull from that.
Yes, 100%. I think the other thing too is that for me, it took me probably a solid 6 months before I even really started writing any of the meat of my book, that there were just so many ideas and notes and all those things, just like you said. But I also agree with like once it was truly time, it flowed very easily. And so I think that there's beauty in being able to wait and know when that green light is happening.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So you wrote a book, and then all of a sudden a coaching business comes out of this. Okay, so let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, I would say I'm probably the world's okayest parenting coach in that I don't really like force it on a lot of people. My coaching is more so the extension of my ability to be able to communicate with my readers. So where I feel like a lot of times parenting coaches are really, really working hard to have like a full client schedule and, really hitting the grindstone. I'm like, well, if you want to talk, I'd love to talk. And so I'm probably opposite of what a lot of people encounter when they come to parenting coaching, because to me, I feel like so much already of value has been given in my book that I would love to continue talking more with people. I just think it's the best thing ever. But I also don't want people to feel like that's my primary goal, is to just get them to come pay me and let me coach you and let's do more and this, that, and whatever. It's like, no, if you need me, I'm here.
That's great. That's great. And then just, allowing yourself to be available and to have that for them. What practical advice would you give, a homeschool mom, stay-at-home mom, or somebody who is wanting to leave to start their own thing? Like, what practical advice would you give them?
I would say, one, to give yourself as much grace as you can.
Yeah.
I think homeschooling moms in particular, go above and beyond for their kids. We constantly are feeling that pull of like, oh, should I add this curriculum? Or I don't know if I'm doing
Oh, yeah.
enough, or I need to do more science projects, or I need to make this amount of money while I'm doing this side
Mhm.
hustle and these, and, so I would say have as much grace as you can for yourself. Like truly speak kindly to yourself, because you probably, could improve on that.
That's
The
really
other thing I would say is that whatever it is that you choose to pursue outside of your primary stay-at-home parenting, homeschooling role, find it to be something that you can talk about incessantly. Like that just
Mhm.
really is a big passion of yours that you
Mhm.
have, that you can really spend time in, because uh, it definitely takes commitment and passion
Yeah.
for something like this. And so being able to have it be something that you really enjoy or feel really strongly about would be the other thing that I would advise.
I'm telling you, that word passion is like the buzzword when
Mm-hmm.
talking about what do I start, where, like what am I passionate about? Like I've actually launched a coaching business myself on how to help people find their niche. I just want to be one of those that just plants seeds of creativity and allow somebody else to water it. But and helping. And so that word passion, like that is the start of what define that your like that you what you feel like God has really entrusted you with, I guess would be a really better way of saying it. And so that's really good, being passionate and finding yourself. And honestly, too, ask yourself too, like, what subject could you talk about without any prompting, without any like preparation or whatever? What just brings fire to your soul?
I agree 100%. I think it makes it so much easier when it's something that comes easily, kind of like what we were talking about with our book process. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. If it comes easily to you, then it's probably a subject that's worth
Yeah.
pursuing.
It's true. One of the things like what got me started was I always made pumpkin bread in the fall. That was like my go-to. It was like October 1st. It was just a staple in our home and our little homeschool day. We'd make some tea and have a slice of pumpkin bread. It's like one of the very few things that all of my kids will eat. Some of them like this and some of them like this. And so
Mm-hmm.
anyways, pumpkin bread and made it for years. And I remember just pulling it out one day and just snapping a picture and putting it on social media and was just like, hey, who wants to come over and have some pumpkin bread with us? And then people started asking, like, are you selling it? And I was like, well, I mean, I guess I can. And then I realized like I loved like food. I was passionate about food and desserts, and now it's more like homemade. But I remember just like that's how it started for me. It's just something that I just did that I loved doing that was natural to me. I wasn't forcing my way, to try to sell this. Oh, look, I'm starting this business and come buy from me. It was just like, hey, who wants a slice and who wants, and it just went from there.
That's really cool. I feel like it came from an organic and authentic place for you.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think that many women are craving right now,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to social media. I think social media in general is just a really hard game to get into,
Yes.
because you feel, one, you're just constantly comparing yourself to everyone. Plus, there's so many rules and guidelines and
Mhm.
the algorithm and the this and the that. And I
Yeah.
have basically had to say for myself and my own mental health, I'm like, you know what? This is who I am. This is what I got. This is the video that I may give for you today. And that's where we're at. And if you want to follow me, that will be awesome. But if you don't, like, hey, no offense. Like
Okay.
it's fine.
Yes.
Cool, no big deal, but like we put so much pressure on ourselves, especially as homeschooling mom,
Mhm.
entrepreneur, whatever title you want to give us to all of us, that it exhausts us before we even meet our goals.
It's
And so,
true.
yeah, so sometimes it's like, you know what? I'm going to make pumpkin bread and it's going to be awesome bread. And if you want to buy it, that sounds amazing.
Exactly. Let's talk about a little bit, with that being said, how do you market your book?
It's $1 million question. I mean, I think that so I self-published my book.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
and
Which can
I
be done,
think,
people. It can be done. It's
yes.
very
Did you
simple.
self-publish yours?
I did. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I honestly, I found self-publishing to the publishing aspect of it wonderful. I
Hmm.
thought it was great. I would totally do it again. I think where it gets challenging is the marketing side of it, because I
Mhm.
could see exactly why it's really helpful to have a team behind you.
Oh
I
yeah.
see why it's people's careers.
Right.
Uh, and I think that in these moments, this is another good example of how I have to really be purposeful and choose
Yes.
what it is that my primary role is. Is my primary role being an author, or is my primary role being a stay-at-home mom that homeschools her kids that, oh, by the way, she also wrote a book?
Mhm.
And that changes depending on the day. It might change
Mhm.
depending on if my kids are being annoying or not, like all of those things, right? But for marketing, I've been doing a lot of the grassroots kind of stuff of like, hey, if you know friend, and that's worked well for sure. Would I have liked to sell like zillions and zillions of books? Yeah, every author does, right?
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
wants to.
Yeah.
But one thing that I would say so far that I feel really, really good about in my marketing is that it's been very distinctly me. It's been a reflection of me and my values. And that was something that I went back and forth with on self-publishing, or I did query publishers, but I struggled with that
Yeah.
because I wanted to be able to align myself with somebody who had similar values to me,
Yeah.
particularly because my book talks about value
Right.
systems. And I felt like there was no one that could represent me better than myself.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how I ended up in that avenue. Marketing is tricky. And I
Yeah.
would say Instagram, podcasts. I'm doing like speaking events locally. I'm working on building out a book tour that goes to
Mhm.
places that I know people that I can do other events.
That's great.
It's word of mouth is another
Yep.
one. I would say this has been a huge learning curve, and it's definitely been an area that I want to improve in, but I also am having to hold myself back because it would be very easy to get carried away and swept up into all of it.
Oh yeah, that's really good. I know for me, so I self-published my book, and word of mouth, posting until you think people are sick of it, because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, algorithms change. And so I remember my book, I launched it 2 years ago, and I posted the other day and somebody goes, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you wrote a book." And I'm like, I've probably posted in the last 2 years, probably like 40 times, maybe, I don't know, maybe not that much, but about 40 times, and they just saw it because of their algorithm changed. So if you do decide to self-publish or even have any kind of material out there, don't be afraid to post. I know, especially like when you get to a certain age, us women, like, I don't know, maybe not all women, but like for me, when I got to a certain age, I just felt so weird, like posting about myself, like all the time. But I realized too that I am going to use it as a or social media as a way to like promote what I'm doing, because if you're doing something that God's asked you to do, you're being a steward of it. You have to be a good steward. And if that means posting about it regularly on social media, then you should do that. If that means talking about it regularly, then you should do that, because if it's entrusted to you, don't go bury that talent. You know, it talks about that in the Gospels, like how they were given, some of them actually invested in it and it grew. And then you had the other one who just went and buried it. Don't go and bury what God's placed in your hand.
Yeah, I've really struggled with imposter syndrome with this a little bit too, of feeling like,
Yeah.
who am I to be offering this to the world, right? Like, I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
me. I'm just Jenna. Like, I make sourdough in my kitchen and I go
Me
for a run.
too.
Yes. You know what I mean, though? Like, I'm just a regular, normal person. And it wasn't until someone said to me, why not you? Right?
Mhm.
Why do you feel like what you have to say or offer is any less than somebody
Oh
else?
yeah.
And in that, I felt like, yeah, maybe you're right. And then also the other side of it was, and I wrote about this in my book because I said, I think there's no better time to write a parenting book than when you're in the weeds of
Mhm.
parenting,
It's
right?
true.
So often, and this
Yeah,
goes
it's
back to
true.
my original experience, we're receiving advice
Hmm.
or wisdom from people who have already left this stage or have outsider perspective, if you want to call it that.
Hmm.
But I think some of the most valuable parenting advice comes from people who are sitting across from you having coffee and they have kids that are the same age. Oh my gosh, we're in this stage. how do we handle this? Oh, we were in that 6 months ago.
Mhm.
And so that was really
It's
motivating for
fresh.
me. Yes.
It's fresh.
Yes.
Mhm.
To come up and be my authentic self
Yeah,
and to be able to know like, okay,
that's
let's
good.
let's talk about this. Yeah.
Just be confident in what God's calling you to do. Somebody else may be making millions doing it. Somebody else could be like totally killing it, have bigger influences, followers, or whatever. But if God's called you to do it, it's just an act of obedience at this time, and just being confident and telling yourself you're allowed to be in these rooms. You're allowed to be sitting at these tables. You're allowed to be in these rooms, sharing what the Lord has placed on your heart.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Jenna, how can somebody find you, find your book, all the things?
Yes. Okay. So I'm on Instagram. It's at purposeful___ parenting.
Okay.
I'm always on there doing ridiculous reels or sharing things on stories about just life in general, relating to other parents.
Okay.
My website is yourpurposefulparenting.com, and you can find out more about me there. And then my book is called Let's Choose Less, and you can buy it on any of your online bookstores, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. It's on my website as well, so you can purchase it on there.
Okay. One last question. Is your house messy or clean right now?
Well, it's a mess. But I would say it's easy to clean up. And that's basically my whole message is that we don't live in perfect homes. We
Yes.
have kids, right? Especially if we're homeschoolers, like our kids are around all the time. There will
There's
not be,
always dishes.
there will always be dishes. There will always be laundry. Like
Yes.
we'll just never be done.
Yeah.
But my basic message is that it doesn't have to be hard to clean it up. It can be cleaned up. So yes, my house is messy, but if I really needed to, I could probably clean it up in a couple of minutes and it'd be fine.
I love that. We used to have this thing like right before dad would get home, I would say, Dad Blitz, Dad Blitz.
No.
Go around and just like straighten up the living room, the kitchen, like any of the main areas. And they just thought it was the funniest thing. So they were just like fighting over who was going to put the pillow up or the toys. And I'm like, guys, let's work together because many hands make light work around here.
Yes, yes. We do. We say that all the time. Everything's better when we're together. And I
I
use that when we're like out and about or whatever. I'll be like, let's do the dishwasher. Oh, I'll be like, everything's better when we're together. Let's do it. But yeah, for sure.
I know I used to have this song, and I'm going to go ahead and just say this. But we used to go, we do some things no, everything yes, without complaining or arguing. We obey our mom, we obey our dad without complaining and arguing. We clean our rooms and we make our bed without complaining and arguing. We do some things no, everything yes, without complaining and arguing.
And how was the reaction for that? Did we like the
They
song?
loved it. I mean, because they were about your kid's age at the time. And so they would be like, they would get really big into it and,
Mhm.
bounce and everything. And now that I do it, they're like, Mother,
Yeah.
Mom.
Ugh.
So fun. Oh my gosh. Well, I so enjoyed our conversation today. Remember Matthew 5:16. It says, let your light shine before all men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Until next time, be blessed.